The sky over Earth turned black on a Tuesday morning. General Marcus Webb stood in the command center beneath the Pentagon, watching the screens light up with radar signals. Hundreds of them. Then thousands. The objects came from deep space, moving fast and straight toward Earth like arrows aimed at a target. Dr. Lisa Romano rushed into the room, her tablet flashing with data. Her face was pale, but her voice stayed calm and steady. She had been studying the signals for the last 6 hours. "They are real," she said, "and they want to talk." The communication came through all channels at once. Every radio, every satellite feed, every connection to space picked up the same message. A voice spoke in perfect English, though no one knew how the aliens had learned the language so quickly. "I am Commander Kale of the Celestial Empire. Your planet is now under our authority. You will surrender within 24 hours. Resistance will be removed. Integration into our empire will begin immediately." The message was simple. The message was clear. The message was also impossible to ignore. Marcus turned to his officers. "Get the president. Get every nation's leader. Get them on a call in 5 minutes. And get the military on high alert. Every base, every weapon, every person we have." The room moved into action. Phones rang. Orders went out to air bases, naval ships, and missile command centers across the globe. Within an hour, every major government knew what was happening. The aliens were coming. They wanted Earth. They wanted it now. Commander Kale watched Earth from his ship. The planet was small and green and blue. It looked weak to him. He had studied human civilization through their broadcasts and signals. Humans were slow. They lived short lives. They fought among themselves constantly. They had no advanced weapons. They had no space fleet worth anything. Some of them still used primitive fossil fuels to power their machines. To Kale, Earth was the easiest conquest his empire would ever see. He had conquered 17 planets before Earth. 17. Each one had fallen in days. Sometimes in hours. The alien species on those worlds had advanced technology. They had weapons that could destroy cities. They had organized military forces and space navies. And yet, they had all surrendered when they saw the Celestial Empire's power. Humans would be no different. Kale gave the order to move closer to Earth. His massive fleet began its descent through the atmosphere. The ships were enormous, each one as large as a mountain. They cast shadows over cities. They blocked out the sun in some places. People on the ground looked up and saw their sky filled with metal and light. Fear spread like fire. But something else spread too. Marcus Webb watched the ships on the radar. He had been a soldier for 30 years. He had fought in wars and peace. He had seen human beings at their worst and sometimes at their best. He knew what fear looked like. He could see it spreading through the reports coming from around the world. But he also knew something about humans that machines and aliens might not understand. "All units, stand ready," Marcus said into the communication system. His voice went out to every military base, every ship, every soldier under his command. "We are not surrendering. We are not backing down. This is Earth. We are home. And we will fight for it." The response came back from bases around the world. Soldiers stood up. Pilots ran to their planes. Navy ships changed course toward the alien fleet. The message was simple but powerful. Humans were afraid, yes, but they were also ready. Lisa studied the alien technology from the data they could collect. The ships were advanced beyond anything humans had made. The weapons were powerful. The armor was thick. Everything about the alien fleet said that resistance was impossible, but Lisa knew something about humans that went deeper than fear. She sat in the command center and watched as young soldiers volunteered for dangerous missions. She watched as engineers started working on new ideas to defend their world. She watched as ordinary people helped each other, protected each other, planned together. Humans did not fall apart when facing death. They came together. Kale sent his first demand directly to Earth's leaders. He wanted them to assemble at a neutral location and surrender the planet to him. No fighting. No resistance. Just surrender. Marcus Webb sent a reply. We will meet you, but we will not surrender. The response shocked Kale. This was not how conquered species behaved. They were supposed to be afraid. They were supposed to see the size of the fleet and give up. They were not supposed to challenge him. Lisa prepared for the meeting. She would go with Marcus and 3 other leaders to speak with Kale. She wanted to understand the aliens. She wanted to know what kind of beings would try to conquer a planet with such confidence. And she wanted to buy time. Every hour that humans were not fighting was an hour to prepare. When Lisa saw Kale for the first time, she was surprised. He was tall, with blue skin and 4 arms. His eyes were large and dark. He looked intelligent but also cold. She could not see any emotion in his face. It was like looking at a being made of logic and nothing else. Kale looked at the humans. They were fragile, soft, small. Marcus was the largest one, but Kale was still twice his height. These beings should have been terrified. Instead, Marcus stood straight and spoke clearly. We will not surrender Earth, Marcus said. We will fight, but we are willing to talk about peace. Kale's response was quick and final. There is nothing to talk about. Your choice is simple. Surrender or die. The meeting ended. Lisa and Marcus walked back to their transport ship. As they walked, Lisa said something that would change everything. He does not understand, she said quietly. He thinks we are weak. He thinks we will break. He has never fought a species like us before. Marcus looked at the alien commander standing in the distance, watching them leave. Then we show him, Marcus said. We show him what humans can do. As their transport took off and flew back toward Earth, the sky filled with light. The Celestial Empire's fleet had begun its descent. The first attack would come within the hour. On Earth, soldiers prepared. Engineers worked faster. Families came together. And in that moment, when everything seemed lost, something powerful emerged. It was not technology. It was not advanced weapons. It was something much older and much stronger. It was the human spirit. And it was ready to fight. Commander Kale stood in his command center and watched as Earth's defenses came online. He was surprised by how quickly they moved. He was surprised by how organized they were. But he was not worried. His fleet was unstoppable. He did not yet understand that he was attacking a world of beings who would rather die than surrender. He would learn soon enough. The first explosion lit up the sky over North America. The alien ships had stopped talking. Now they were fighting. Kale had ordered the attack on human military bases across 3 continents at the same moment. Massive energy weapons struck from the sky, destroying runways, buildings, and equipment. The aliens expected the attacks to break human resistance. They expected surrender to follow quickly. What they did not expect was what they saw next. Captain Andrew Cole was flying his jet fighter when the explosions started. He heard the orders come through his headset. Get off the ground. Get to the sky. Fight. Andrew pulled his plane up hard and pushed the engines to maximum power. His fighter was old compared to the alien ships. It was slow. It had no weapons that could hurt the alien armor. But Andrew had something the aliens did not understand. He had experience in flying across the land he knew. He knew every mountain, every valley, every piece of terrain in a 100-mile radius. The alien pilots knew the sky. They knew weapons and power, but they did not know Earth. Andrew flew low, below the radar. between trees and around hills. When the alien ships came after him, he knew where to go. He cut through canyons where their larger ships could not follow. He climbed over mountains and dropped down the other side. The alien pilots tried to follow, but they were not built for this kind of flying. Andrew's wingman, Captain David Hassan, was also fighting his own war in the sky. Together, they led the alien fighters on a chase that showed humanity's greatest advantage. They knew their home. They would use that. On the ground, the situation was worse. Sergeant Emily Price stood in a tunnel beneath a military base with 30 other soldiers. The base had taken direct hits from the alien weapons. The command center was destroyed. The radar was gone. The weapons were offline. Everything that was supposed to protect humans from space was now burning metal and dust. Emily's commander was dead. 3 of her friends were dead. The aliens would be through the base defenses in minutes, but Emily had volunteered for a mission that morning. Before the attack started, before anyone knew how bad things would become, she had raised her hand and asked to be part of a special team. The team's job was to destroy the alien communication relay if the battle went wrong. It had gone wrong. Emily took 4 soldiers with her. They carried explosives and weapons. They moved through the tunnels under the base while the world exploded above them. The alien relay was a massive machine, half a mile away, sitting in a clearing near the base. Emily knew she would not come back from this mission. She had known it when she volunteered. The aliens would shoot at them. The odds of surviving were almost 0. She told her team the truth. "We are probably going to die," Emily said as they ran through the tunnels. "But if we destroy that relay, the other bases will have time to organize. People will live because of what we do today. Our families will survive. Earth will survive. We do this because it matters." The soldiers with her did not argue. They did not ask why they should die for people they would never meet. They understood. That was the thing about humans. When someone explained why a sacrifice mattered, they would make it. The relay was guarded by alien soldiers. When Emily's team came out of the tunnel, the aliens saw them immediately. Energy weapons started firing. The explosions were so bright that Emily could barely see. Her team was hit. 2 soldiers fell. 1 soldier was burned badly, but kept moving. Emily and the remaining soldier ran forward. The alien weapons kept firing. They were getting closer. The soldier next to Emily screamed and fell. Emily was alone now, but she was close enough. Emily threw the explosives with all her strength. They hit the relay and stuck. She dove behind a rock as the explosion came. The relay burst into pieces. Sparks and fire lit up the sky. Emily Price did not survive the explosion, but the alien relay was destroyed. And because it was destroyed, 6 other bases got warning that the attacks were coming. Because they got warning, thousands of people evacuated in time. Because thousands of people evacuated, they lived. Emily's sacrifice saved lives that she would never know about. Dr. Lisa Romano was in a laboratory when she received the news about Emily Price and the other soldiers who had died in the attacks. She felt the weight of it. She felt the sadness. But she also felt something else. She felt determination. Lisa had been studying the alien data collected before the attacks. She was a biologist and neurologist. She studied how different species' brains worked. And she had found something interesting about human biology. When humans experienced pain, their nervous system reacted differently than many alien species. Humans could stay conscious through levels of pain that would shut down other beings. Humans could keep fighting when other species would collapse. Humans' brains were built to keep going, even when their bodies wanted to quit. Lisa wrote a report and sent it to Marcus Webb. "Humans have a biological advantage in close combat situations," she wrote. "Our pain tolerance is higher than most species. We can suffer injury and keep functioning. We can lose blood and still move. We can experience trauma and still think clearly. This is not a weakness. This is our greatest strength in ground combat. Marcus read the report and understood immediately. The aliens had expected humans to break. They had expected resistance to fall apart when people started dying. But humans did not work that way. Humans broke when they lost hope. Humans fought when they found purpose. And right now, humanity had found purpose. Dr. Henry Foster was an engineer. He had worked for a military contractor for 20 years, designing systems and weapons. When the aliens attacked, he did something that the aliens did not expect. He started building new weapons from parts they already had. Henry gathered engineers and mechanics and scientists. He showed them how to take old technology and improve it. He showed them how to use human creativity to solve problems that alien weapons had created. Within hours, they had built a new kind of defense system. It was not as powerful as alien weapons, but it was smarter. It was faster to make. It could be rebuilt quickly. The aliens had one advantage: advanced technology. Humans had a different advantage: the ability to improvise, to create, to find new solutions to impossible problems. Cale watched the reports come in from the ground. The base attacks had not gone as planned. Humans were fighting harder than expected. They were using tactics he did not understand. They were dying but not surrendering. This was unexpected. Cale had conquered 17 planets. On those planets, the species had tried to fight, but they had fought in logical ways. They had concentrated their forces. They had used their best weapons. They had followed the rules of war. Humans were not following any rules, Cale understood. They were using terrain and knowledge. They were making sacrifices that made no logical sense. They were creating new weapons from old parts. They were working together in ways that seemed almost like a single organism, with many bodies. Cale did not yet understand what he was facing. He did not realize that he was fighting against something his civilization had forgotten long ago. He was fighting against the power of beings who believed in something larger than themselves. And that was a power that no advanced technology could defeat. War that should have been finished in days had just begun in earnest. And the Celestial Empire would learn that conquering Earth was not about destroying weapons or taking territory. It was about facing the strength of the human spirit. And humans never broke. 3 weeks into the war, Cale made a decision that would change everything. The aliens had taken control of several cities. Tens of thousands of humans had died. But human resistance was still strong. Soldiers kept fighting. Engineers kept building new weapons. People kept helping each other. The invasion was not going the way Cale had planned. In the Celestial Empire, strength came from eliminating weakness. If a species would not surrender, you removed their ability to survive. If they had young, you removed the young. If they had hope, you removed the reason for hope. It was cold logic. It was how the Empire had always worked. Cale learned that thousands of human children had been evacuated to a compound in what humans called Canada. They had been moved away from fighting areas to keep them safe. Cale saw this as an opportunity. He ordered the compound attacked. The alien ships surrounded the compound and destroyed all escape routes. Cale sent his ultimatum: surrender all resistance or the children would be executed. He expected human forces to lay down their weapons. He expected the will to fight to break completely. After all, what species would choose to lose their young to continue a war they could not win? He did not understand that he had just made the mistake that would cost him everything. When the news reached Marcus Webb in the command center, the general went very quiet. The room became silent. Every officer, every soldier, every person in that room understood what had just happened. Aliens had given humans something they desperately needed. A reason to fight that went beyond. Survival. Marcus stood up and looked directly at the communication. Camera aimed at the alien fleet. "We are coming." "For them," Marcus said clearly. "We are coming for every single child. We will fight to the last soldier. We will give everything we have. And we will get them back." The order went out across all human forces on Earth. This was no longer a war for territory or resources. This was personal. This was about protecting the young. This was about the future. Something changed in human soldiers that day. Captain Andrew Cole was flying a combat mission near the compound when he heard the news about the children. He had 2 children of his own. One was 9 years old. One was 5. They were in a shelter in Arizona, away from the fighting. Andrew felt something rise inside him that was not fear. It was not anger in the normal way. It was something deeper. It was the kind of rage that comes from knowing that someone was trying to hurt. Children. He pushed his fighter faster and harder than he ever had before. He flew directly at the alien ships protecting the compound. His weapons were useless against them, but he did not care. He used his plane like a tool. He struck at their formations. He forced them to fight him instead of attacking the ground. Other pilots joined him. Not because it was logical. Not because they had a real chance of success. But because children were in danger, and they would not accept that. The soldiers on the ground moved toward the compound with weapons ready to die if necessary. Sergeant Emily Price's unit, commanded by a veteran named Lieutenant Gordon Walsh, pushed through alien defensive positions. They took heavy casualties. Half of Gordon's soldiers were killed or wounded, but they kept moving forward. Dr. Lisa Romano was in the hospital when the news came about the children. She was treating soldiers with wounds that should have been fatal. A young man named Justin, who was only 19 years old, had been burned in an explosion. Half his body was covered in bandages. He was in terrible pain. When Lisa told him about the children, Justin sat up in his hospital bed despite his injuries. "I need to fight," he said. "I need to get out of here." Lisa tried to keep him in the bed, but Justin stood up anyway. He took a weapon. He joined the soldiers heading toward the compound, even though walking caused him agony. This was what the aliens did not understand about humans. Humans would keep fighting past pain. Humans would keep fighting past injury. Humans would keep fighting for something that mattered. Dr. Patricia Allen was a neurologist who had been studying the way human brains worked. When the news about the children came through, she realized something important about human biology. Humans had evolved on a harsh world. Earth was dangerous. Predators had hunted humans for millions of years. Other humans had fought humans for resources and territory. Through all of this, humans had developed brains that were designed to protect young. A human parent would run into fire to save a child. A human soldier would die to prevent harm to the young. It was not a choice they made with logic. It was written into their DNA. The aliens, with their advanced civilization and long lives, had forgotten what it meant to protect the young. They saw it as a weakness. They did not realize it was the strongest force in the universe. Patricia wrote to Cale directly. "You have made a terrible mistake," she wrote. "You do not understand what you have done. Humans will now fight with desperation you have never seen. You have turned every soldier into a parent or a sibling or an aunt or uncle. You have activated the deepest drives in the human nervous system. You have made this a war that cannot be won by superior weapons." Cale did not respond to Patricia's message, but he received reports from the ground that disturbed him. Humans were attacking with new intensity. They were fighting with a savageness that seemed almost inhuman. They were rushing toward the compound with no regard for their own safety. Cale had expected the attack on the compound to break human resistance. Instead, it had unified them in a way he had never seen before. Marcus Webb led the final assault on the compound himself. He was 63 years old and had not been in direct combat for 20 years. But he took a weapon and moved forward with the soldiers. He moved forward because the children mattered more than his own safety. The attack broke through the alien defenses. Soldiers poured into the compound. The aliens, expecting humans to surrender, found instead humans who were ready to die to save the children. Kale ordered a retreat from the compound. He realized too late what he had done. In the Celestial Empire's history, there had never been a species that would fight harder for their young than for their own survival. There had never been a species that would rush toward death if it meant saving a child. Humans were different. When the last of the children came out of the compound and were moved to safety, something broke inside human resistance in a different way. It was not a breaking of will. It was a breaking of chains. The fear was gone. The question of whether humans could win was gone. What remained was a simple, terrible certainty. Humans would not stop. They would not quit. They would not surrender. They would fight until they won or until every single human was dead. And in his command ship, Kale of the Celestial Empire realized for the first time that conquering Earth might be impossible. He had awakened something in humans that no weapon could kill. He had awakened a force that transcended logic, transcended survival, transcended everything his advanced civilization believed about strength. He had awakened human love for their young, and that was a force that the Celestial Empire could not defeat. The war had gone on for 6 months. The Celestial Empire was winning by all the measures of war that mattered. They controlled more territory. They had destroyed more human weapons. They had killed more soldiers, but they were losing. Every city that humans lost, they took back within weeks. Every weapon destroyed, they rebuilt it faster and stronger. Every soldier that died, more took their place. The aliens had fought 17 species before humans. None of them had done this. Kale watched the battle reports come in. The numbers should have told him that he was winning. But something else told him he was losing. His own people were beginning to fail him. The first sign came when 7 of his commanders requested reassignment. They said they were ill. They said they could not continue the campaign. Kale knew better. He knew they were broken by what they had seen. They had seen humans die and keep fighting. They had seen humans lose children and become stronger, not weaker. They had seen humans show mercy to wounded enemies when they could have killed them. The Celestial Empire did not show mercy. The Celestial Empire did not understand compassion. These things were supposed to be weaknesses, but among human soldiers, mercy had become a kind of strength. The second sign came when Kale's superiors sent him a new message. It was not a request. It was an order. Total extinction. Remove the entire human species from Earth. If they will not be conquered, they will be eliminated. You have 6 months to complete this task. If you fail, you and your fleet will be destroyed as well. Kale read the order and felt something he had never felt before in his entire life. He felt fear, not of humans, not of weapons, but of the choice that was being asked of him. He had conquered 17 planets. On those planets, he had ordered extinctions. He had erased entire species. It was what the Empire did. It was how they maintained control. But he had been on Earth for 6 months. He had watched humans fight. He had watched them save their children. He had watched soldiers die for each other. He had watched a parent take a weapon to protect a stranger's child. He had watched humans show a kind of strength that his entire civilization had forgotten. Dr. Elisa Romano was in a secured laboratory. When she received word that Kale wanted to meet with her, she did not trust the aliens. She did not trust Kale, but she went to the meeting anyway, because she wanted to understand. When she arrived at the neutral location, she found Kale waiting for her. He looked different than he had before the war. His skin seemed darker. His eyes seemed tired. For the first time, Lisa saw that the alien was not just a machine following orders. The alien was thinking. "I have been given an order," Kale said directly. "I have been ordered to eliminate all human life on Earth. I have the weapons. I have the power. I can accomplish this task within the time frame I have been given." Lisa felt her heart drop. This was the end. The aliens had decided that Earth could not be conquered, so they would simply destroy it. "Why are you telling me this?" Lisa asked. "Because I wanted to understand your response," Kale said. "When I tell you that I have the power to destroy your entire species, what do you say? Do you beg for mercy? Do you offer surrender?" Lisa thought about this carefully. She thought about the soldiers she had seen. She thought about Emily Price and the others who had died not because they wanted to win, but because what they were protecting mattered. "I would say that you have chosen poorly," Lisa said. "I would say that you have already lost, and you do not realize it yet." Kale was silent for a long moment. "Explain," he said. "You came to conquer Earth because you saw us as weak," Lisa said. "But you were wrong. We are not weak. We are complex. Our strength does not come from weapons or technology. It comes from what we believe. We believe in each other. We believe in the future. We believe that some things matter more than survival." Lisa stepped closer to the alien commander. "If you destroy Earth," Lisa continued, "you destroy a species that could have changed your entire empire. You destroy a species that could have taught you things you have forgotten. You destroy hope itself, and your empire will never recover from that." Kale was silent. In his mind, he could see the truth of her words. Meanwhile, Marcus Webb was preparing a plan that would have seemed impossible weeks before. He had discovered that Kale's superiors back in the Celestial Empire were planning to destroy both Earth and Kale if the conquest failed. Marcus understood the situation. Kale was caught between two impossible choices. Marcus made a dangerous decision. He sent a message to Kale. "We will help you," Marcus wrote. "Your own people are planning to destroy you. We know this. We will fight alongside you against them. We will protect your life. We will give you sanctuary on Earth. In exchange, you will leave our world and tell your empire that Earth is too dangerous to conquer." It was an impossible offer. The aliens and humans were enemies. But enemies could become allies when they faced a greater danger. Kale received Marcus's message. He read it several times. And then he made a choice that would define his legacy. He agreed. The plan was set in motion. Kale would send false reports to the Celestial Empire saying that he was completing the extinction of humanity. In reality, he would prepare his fleet to defend against the forces that would come to destroy both him and Earth. When the Celestial Empire's main forces arrived, they expected to find Earth empty and Kale waiting to be executed. What they found instead was Kale's fleet, human ships, and human pilots all fighting together. Captain Andrew Cole flew his fighter alongside alien pilots who had chosen to stay with Kale. They moved together, protecting each other, fighting as one unit. Humans and aliens fighting not against each other, but with each other. The battle lasted hours. The Celestial Empire's fleet was stronger, but they were fighting enemies and allies mixed together. They could not use their full power without destroying their own people, and they could not understand what they were seeing. Humans and aliens standing together, fighting together, protecting each other. It was against everything the Empire believed. When the Celestial Empire's fleet finally withdrew, Kale knew that he had burned every bridge back to his civilization. He could never go home. But as he looked at the humans standing with him, he realized that he had found something better. He had found a home. Dr. Patricia Allen brought her research to Kale. She showed him the science of human compassion. She showed him how human brains were built to care for each other, to sacrifice, to find meaning in serving others. This is why you lost, Patricia told him. You tried to fight a species that was stronger than weapons. You tried to conquer beings that were built by evolution itself to never give up. You lost because you did not understand what it means to be human. Cale listened to everything Patricia said. And for the first time in his long life, the alien commander understood that strength did not come from advanced technology. Strength came from purpose. And humans had purpose written into their very bones. In the medical tents, human doctors treated wounded alien soldiers. The aliens were shocked. They had expected to be killed. Instead, they were being cared for. A human named Dr. Raymond Pierce treated alien wounds with the same care he gave to human soldiers. We are not like your empire, Ray told the aliens. We do not kill those who cannot fight. We do not destroy those who are different. We protect. We heal. We understand that all life matters. The aliens had never heard words like this before. In that moment, the entire universe shifted. An empire built on power and logic was being challenged by beings built on compassion and sacrifice. And for the first time, the empire realized that compassion might be the greatest power of all. 1 year after the war ended, Earth had changed forever. The memorial had been built in a field that once held military bases. Now it held a different kind of structure. 50,000 names were carved into stone. Some were soldiers. Some were engineers. Some were ordinary people who had died trying to protect their families and their world. Marcus Webb stood in front of the memorial with Cale at his side. The alien commander was learning what humans meant by grief and remembrance. He was learning what it meant to honor those who had been lost. 50,000 names, Cale said quietly. You lost 50,000 of your species to protect your world. We would have lost more if it was necessary, Marcus replied. We would have lost everyone. Cale understood this now. He had lived 437 years in the Celestial Empire. He had never understood sacrifice the way humans understood it. He had never seen beings willing to lose everything for something that was not themselves, the united Earth. Council met for the first time with full representation from every nation on Earth. Dr. Elisa Romano stood before them with Cale and a delegation of alien officers who had chosen to stay on Earth. We have the opportunity to build something new, Lisa said. We have the chance to show the galaxy that cooperation is stronger than conquest. That compassion is more powerful than weapons. That understanding matters more than force. The vote was unanimous. Earth would open its doors to the galaxy, but not for conquest, for partnership. News spread through the galaxy faster than light. Humans had fought the Celestial Empire to a standstill. Humans had shown mercy to those who came to destroy them. Humans had taught and advanced civilization that strength could come from the heart. Species that had been conquered by the Empire began to rise up. Species that had lived in fear began to hope. They sent messages to Earth asking for alliance. They wanted to be part of something that valued life instead of power. In schools across Earth, children learned about the war. They learned about Emily Price, who died to save thousands. They learned about Captain Andrew Cole and the pilots who fought impossible odds. They learned about Dr. Patricia Allen, who helped aliens understand humanity. But most importantly, they learned why humans had fought. They fought because home mattered. They fought because each other mattered. They fought because the future mattered. And they never gave up. A young girl named Sophia, who was 10 years old, asked Cale a question one day in her school. Cale had become a kind of ambassador, traveling to schools and telling humans and aliens alike about what he had learned. Why did you try to conquer us? Sophia asked. Why did you think you could win? Cale looked at the young girl. He thought about everything that had happened. He thought about the mistakes he had made. Because I did not understand, Kale said honestly. I thought that advanced technology and long life made my species strong. I thought that beings who were fragile and short-lived could not stand against us. I was wrong. Your species had something far more important than advanced weapons. What was that? Sophia asked. Purpose, Kale said. You had reasons to fight that went beyond survival. You had each other. You had beliefs that mattered more than life itself. And once I understood that, I realized that I wanted to be part of that. I wanted to learn from you. Sophia smiled at the alien commander. I am glad you learned, she said. Dr. Henry Foster had spent the year after the war building something new. He was working with alien engineers to create ships that humans and aliens could fly together. The technology was a combination of human ingenuity and alien advancement. The result was something that neither species could have built alone. Captain Andrew Cole was training a new generation of pilots. Half of them were human. Half of them were aliens who had chosen to stay on Earth. They flew together as one squadron. They understood each other. They trusted each other with their lives. Trust was the most powerful technology humans had ever invented. Dr. Patricia Allen had written a book about what she had learned. The book was studied in universities across the galaxy. It explained the biological basis of human compassion. It showed that humans had been shaped by a harsh world to care for each other, to sacrifice, to believe in meaning. The book was called The Strength of the Death World Species, and it changed how advanced civilizations thought about less developed species. Maybe those species were not primitive. Maybe they were evolved. Maybe they had learned something that advanced technology had made other species forget. Marcus Webb had stepped down as general. He spent his time now as an ambassador. He traveled to worlds that wanted to understand Earth and humans. He showed them how humans organize society around care instead of control. Everywhere he went, he brought hope. And everywhere he went, he told the same story. The story of a small, fragile species that refused to give up. The story of beings who loved their young so fiercely that no weapon could defeat them. The story of humans who showed mercy to enemies and changed the universe in doing so. Kale had made a choice to stay on Earth. He had learned the Neurotherms language better than any alien had ever tried to. He had learned about art and music and poetry. He had learned what it meant to laugh. One day, he told Marcus about a realization he had come to. Your species does not follow the laws of what should be possible, Kale said. You break every rule of how advanced species should behave. You sacrifice for strangers. You believe in things that have no logical value. You choose to protect the weak instead of eliminating them. It is impossible. And yet, here you are, the most powerful beings in the known galaxy. Powerful not because of weapons, but because of what you believe. Marcus looked at his old enemy who had become something close to a friend. That is what it means to be human, Marcus said. We do impossible things because they matter. We fight when we should surrender. We show mercy when we could take revenge. We believe in things we cannot prove. And all of these things, the things that make no sense to your empire, these are the things that make us strong. In the night sky above Earth, new lights appeared. They were ships from different worlds coming to join the Alliance. More and more species realized that the way forward was not through conquest. The way forward was through understanding. The way forward was through compassion. The way forward was through learning from beings who had been tested and had not broken. And at the center of this growing alliance was Earth, a small, blue planet in an average solar system. A world of beings who had been underestimated by everyone, but who had taught the galaxy that the greatest strength was the strength of the human spirit. In 1,000 years, the story would still be told. The story of how a Deathworld species fought for freedom. How they showed compassion to those who would destroy them. How they changed an empire simply by being human. And in every telling of that story, one truth would remain. Humans never surrendered. Not because they were strong, but because they understood something that the universe had almost forgotten. They understood that some things matter more than survival. They understood that together they could do anything. They understood that being human meant fighting for what you loved, no matter the cost. And that was the strength that defeated gods. That was the strength that changed the universe. That was the strength of the Deathworld species called humans.